Hi everyone, Laura Rantala here with part 2 of our 2-part video on how to use ConferZoom. In this section, we're going to be looking at how to use Zoom within our Canvas learning management system. The first thing you're going to want to do is go into your Viking portal. Viking portal can be found on the main page, either up here on the top left-hand corner or under Quick Links. So let's go ahead and click into Viking portal. You will need to sign in if you're not already signed in. I am currently signed in. From here, we're going to click on Canvas. All right, so upon logging into Canvas, I'm going to go ahead and select the class that I want to add ConferZoom to and function within. So I'm going to select my Learn 11 class that I'm teaching this spring 2020 in the online environment. And upon logging into my class, there's a few things you'll see here. I have my course syllabus, a little bit of color to make it interesting, my welcoming weekly modules, my resources, and then down here at the bottom is my welcome videos that my class is able to go in and view at any time. But what's missing right now is my option to use ConferZoom. So I don't see it on the left-hand side here, but we're going to go ahead and add it. So right now my students have access to home, announcements, modules, and so on. So we want to add ConferZoom. So to do that, I'm going to click on Settings. Once I'm in Settings, I'm going to look up here at the top, and I'm actually going to toggle over to Navigation. And right now at the top here, this is what my students can see. They have access to all these items, but we need to get ConferZoom. So I'm actually going to go down here to this section. This is everything that is currently not enabled, and I'm going to find ConferZoom. And mine happens to be all the way down here at the bottom. So there's two ways to move it to the top. You can either click on these three buttons and enable, or you can drag it and drop it. Since mine's at the bottom, I'm just going to do the enable option. And then it's moved up here to the top. Now there's an important and final step here to do, and that is to go all the way back down to the bottom and click on Save. And then I'm going to go back to my home page. And now you'll see that I have ConferZoom available here. I can see it, and my students will be able to see it. So let's go ahead and click on ConferZoom. All right, so now that we are in ConferZoom within Canvas, there's a few things to point out to you so you know how to use this and best apply it to your class and your discipline. So let me show you a few things. So number one, currently, and when you first click into ConferZoom, you will land on the event calendar. Within event calendar, this is where you can either schedule future and reoccurring sessions with your students, or you can do a quick launch, which means I want to meet with you now for a certain duration of time. And I'll show you both here in just a moment. The next section is appointment booking. Appointment booking is a little bit different. This is where if you want to do a private session with a one-on-one with a student where you would not want any of your recordings to be viewable to your other students in your class, you could choose this option. And there are a lot of great instructions with the ConferZoom company on how to use appointment booking. The next thing over is event recordings. Event recordings is going to show you all the recordings that you have done within this class, so using this particular shell. And it's something that I think some of our faculty are going to want to do is record their sessions so you can either go back to it later yourself or your other students can go back and take a look at them for review. The other benefit is that if you record your sessions using ConferZoom, and if you save your sessions to the cloud, and that's a setting that you can make sure is secured within ConferZoom, within the actual company site, what will happen is it will send you the video of your session. It will also send you the transcripts, which is a really great benefit in supporting being able to do any kind of reading of what the session was about as well. So recording is definitely a benefit, and that will stay here for you. The other component is event attendance. So if you wanted to find out who had attended your live event, you could go back and take a look at that as well. So those are some options that you have available to you. I'm going to go back to event calendar and show you how to function in here. And I think this is probably the main way to use ConferZoom within Canvas. So event calendar, you have two options. You can schedule a future appointment or do a quick launch. I first want to show you how to schedule appointments. So we're going to click on schedule. Once you do that, on the left-hand side, you're going to see a lot of options for you to create that event. You can name your event. Mine defaults to my class, and I would just typically leave it at that, but you can change it. You can add a description, so there's some room here to write a description if need be. You can make a decision if this is a one-time event, or is this a daily event or a weekly event. You want to make sure that your time zone is correct. That is very important for consistency and our students being able to meet us at the correct times. We are in the Los Angeles time zone. Date, I'm going to go ahead and use today's date just for an example, but you could set future dates. Your time is really important. So let's say, for example, you're going to do a 9 a.m. meeting with your students. What I've learned in the recent year or so of using Zoom in my classes is that there's a benefit to padding that time a little bit to make sure everyone has time to get on and get themselves situated. And then it allows you as the instructor to start your sessions on time. So if you're going to do a 9 a.m. session, what I would suggest doing is making your appointment for 8:45 a.m. That way you've got 15 minutes of wiggle room. The next thing is duration, and the same idea here with the padding. Let's say you're going to have an hour session. I would just go ahead and make that an hour and a half. That way there's room for things that run over so you don't get cut off. So once we're set, we're going to go ahead and click Save. And once you do that, you're going to see your scheduled appointment show up here on your event calendar. You can invite students to this in a few different ways. And then I'm going to show you the different opportunities that you have. And you could kind of see what's going to work better for you. If you click on the little plus sign of your event, you're going to see some options here. Number one, you can edit this event, so it's not written in stone. You can make changes. You can invite your students or invite guests in general, or you can just simply delete it if it's a mistake or it gets canceled. But let's go ahead and do invite guests. This is the little person with the plus sign. From here, you have some options. You can get a link, which you would copy and paste and send to your students, or maybe put into like an Excel spreadsheet schedule, whatever you think is going to be best for your situation. And then you can also send a link and an email. So I'm going to show you what the copy paste looks like. So if you were to click on that, you would then be able to highlight and copy this URL and send it to your students. If you want to do send link in an email, you could click on this button and then enter the email addresses in which you want to send for who you want to send to. So you have that option here, and then any kind of message that you want to do here. So two ways to invite them through Canvas in that sense. And then there's actually a final way within the actual Zoom session, which I'll show you later. Something else to keep in mind is that because your students have ConferZoom in their Canvas shell, they can also click on ConferZoom and see the event calendar. And I want to show you what they would see, and it's good for you to know that you could actually view this as well. So if you click on this really small little button here that says View as Student, this is what your students see. So they also see the calendar. And the benefit of that is they could actually also join your sessions through the calendar. So if you want to give them instructions to just simply go to the calendar and join, you could do that too. A student could come in here, click on the plus sign, and just simply join your session. So that's also an option. I'm going to exit student view. And I want to show you one more thing. So we've got schedule, and then we also have the quick launch option, and that's actually going to open up a Zoom session right now. So I'm going to click on that. And same principle here when it comes to timing. So let's say you're going to do a quick 15-minute visit with your students, or a student or a couple students. What I would suggest here is you actually make it a 30-minute quick launch. That way you have padding for time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on 30 minutes. All right, and so once you come on session, a few things are going to take place. You will be able to see all of your settings. So right now, my video is actually muted. I'll turn on the video in a second so you can see me. But upon coming in, I don't always want my video on because, well, I like to control the situation. I want to turn the video on when I want it on. So upon coming in, you've got options in here. You can mute yourself, so mute your voice. You can mute or start your video. You can invite other people. So if you want to click on the invite button, let's say you forgot to invite someone and you need to now that you're in the session, you could either do a copy URL or copy the invite, or you can just simply email with them. You can share your screen. That's an option that I'll show you here in a moment. You can chat. So if you need to chat with your students, and keep in mind, not all of our students are going to have all the capabilities. Is everyone going to have a camera? Does everyone have a microphone or the audio within their device? So having that chat option is a great way to be flexible with your students. Also note that they are able to call in to ConferZoom. So sometimes on the screen you might just see a phone number pop up, and that's one of your students versus their face or their name. So just know that there's going to be different ways that you'll communicate with folks. The other thing is that I record my sessions automatically, and you don't have to. You could just simply come in here and start the record button. Mine's already on, so it says pause and stop recording, but I'm going to go ahead and pause.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, so the recording has stopped. If I wanted to turn it back on, I could hit play.
This meeting is being recorded.
And it's a good thing it does that, because your students need to be aware that you're recording, I think, just out of respect. You have other options here on the right-hand side where you can manage your participants. And so by clicking on this button, Manage Participants comes up on the right-hand side. Now I'm in here alone right now, so I don't have any participants. But if I had my students, their name and or their phone number, depending on how they came into the session, would be listed here. And note that I can control what's going on with them. So if I need to mute them, whether it's their voice or their video, I could do that. And I just wanted to show you what video looks like real quick. I'm going to pop up on the screen for a second. Hi everyone. So this is what it would look like if you're working with somebody with video. They could see you and you could see them, and that's one of the benefits too. It really brings the humanizing to a remote or an online environment. So I'm going to go ahead and take the camera off. So one other thing I want to show you in here is how to share your screen. So it's one thing to be able to see each other, but if you're trying to demonstrate that something that's on your computer, maybe it's a PowerPoint or a website or really even your Canvas shell, you can share your screen with your participants. So down here at the bottom, you'll see a green button that says Share Screen. From here, you have a bunch of different options. You can share your full screen, which means anything that comes up on your screen your students would see. A little less control with that one in case you have to toggle around, they're going to see everything. And you can see everything else that I have available to me here. These just happen to be my websites that are open. I'm using Camtasia to create this video, so of course it's going to show my Camtasia stuff. But the one thing I do want to show you is, let's say I want to demonstrate my PowerPoint for Learn 11. If I only want to show you as my participant my Learn 11 PowerPoint, I would click on this rather than screen. That way I have some control. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and say Share. And now you can see a PowerPoint that I was starting for one of my Learn 11 classes. And you could see the full thing. So if I were to start this in slideshow mode and go through the whole process, you would be able to see everything. To stop sharing, you're going to see this little button up here, and all of your tools kind of follow you in that area. You would click on Stop Share, and then you could come back to yourself, whether it's your video or just your name. To end the meeting, we're going to click on End Meeting. And you have some options here. So you as the host, you have the control. You can end the meeting for everybody, or you could just simply leave the meeting. I don't know if you'd want to leave everybody in, but you could. It really depends on what your purpose is for using ConferZoom. So those are your options. So I'm actually just going to end meeting for all since it's just me. And then when you come out, you're going to see something like this, and you could just simply close out the browser. And then you're back to your Canvas page. Note that any recordings or attendance take a little while to process. So we just finished a video. If I were to go into event recordings, it's not going to be ready just yet. It's saying, check for your recordings. So the company does have to do a little bit of processing first. And so no, it's not going to come right away. For me, it usually comes within maybe about the hour from when I did my recordings, but it will depend on volume and how many individuals are using ConferZoom at that time. So just something to keep in mind. So one final component that I want to share before ending this tutorial is the resources that are available for you in Canvas. So while you're logged in on the left-hand side, if you click on our push pin here that's called Resources, a menu will open up with a variety of resources to support you, the faculty member, in using Canvas, but also resources for online learning and for your students. So there's a lot available here for you to look through and just to be aware of. The one that I want to point out for today is the OLET about ConferZoom. This will link to our support for ConferZoom, so if you have any further questions, you can refer to this site. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and it's going to support you in considering how you'll use Zoom in your future academic endeavors. Know that it's going to be different based off department, and there's so many different intricacies that you can consider. So this was the bird's eye view to plant the seed, but you can dig in and figure out how it's going to work best for you. Happy Zooming!